begin the next stage in our conversation. And in that sense, we need to frame as precisely as possible the areas that each of us think will carry us forward most effectively. I'm sorry that it's been such a difficult exercise and difficult evening. I think there are many in the room who would have been happy had you been able earlier in the process to find some quick, simple compromise by listing several areas that are bracketed that would indicate more precisely where the disagreements lay and give us more clarity as we sought to move forward. With that in mind, what I'd like to do this morning is not so much to provide a detailed review of all the parts of this text where I found myself a bit disquieted, but instead to focus on those areas of the text that had been brought back, but on which in an earlier discussion, both in informals and in more formal sessions, we had indicated some concern. Those particularly deal with the discussion on enhanced action on mitigation and its associated means of implementation. Those begin on paragraph 12. As a general matter, we are not yet prepared to make a statement about the collective effort of 25 to 40%, or 30, or 40, or 45. We have proposed to bracket the last part of that paragraph, beginning with the word "at least." So the bracket would start between the "by" and the "at" on the line in paragraph 12, by at least. So at least, and then all the way through 45 with a closed bracket. That section is bracketed. And the letter X is inserted in brackets. There is an asterisk on the X with a footnote. And the footnote would read, X is equal to the sum of the reductions by parties. X is equal to the sum of the reduction by parties. We would continue in bracket 1990 and put in a new bracket that would say for 2005. Those are the extents of the brackets in that particular paragraph. Given the lateness of the hour, I think parties have heard our general concerns. I will make very briefly the comment that we think that this needs a very different structure from the Kyoto Protocol, to which we are not a party. We envision a structure that's built on the actions that countries are taking and implementing domestically, and behind which they are resolved to make themselves transparent and to hold themselves accountable to the global community. That bottom-up structure gives us an X instead of a fixed percentage. In paragraph 14, we would propose to bracket the language after the word comparable in. The bracket would be around the words legal form, comma, magnitude of. Those words would be bracketed. The word effort would be left as it was, and then another bracket reading and provisions for measuring through the end of the paragraph. We have talked a number of times that we believe that comparability is a political matter, not one devoted to a particular policy framework. In 15, we would bracket the words for the period, which is in the middle of the second line. For the period would be bracketed, as well as the words adopted under the convention. Those particular points give us a framework that looks identical to Kyoto, to which we are not going to be party. In paragraph 17 and 18, we would bracket the entire paragraphs. In paragraph 19, we would bracket the clause taking into account the relevant provisions under the Kyoto Protocol. It will come as no surprise. And we would bracket paragraph 20. Those elements give some clarity as to the areas that we found unacceptable and explain the rationale for our original proposal to begin with a different formulation. I hope that as we work to resolve these brackets, and we think we can find a formulation which parties find more appropriate. We have one final set of brackets. The next section reads naturally appropriate mitigation actions by developing country parties. We would propose that a bracket after that, with the words inserted, option 1, colon, and the end of that bracket be at the end of paragraph 29. So the entire section is bracketed. It would say option 1, colon, the whole section, beginning with agrees that, running through the end of paragraph 29 would be bracketed. And then we'd add the following words in a new bracket. We would add option 2, colon, alternatives suggested by parties, close bracket. To give a clear sense that there are different ways to think about this problem, and that as we pass this forward, the current draft text is only one option that countries may wish to consider. We did not seek at this time, although we could easily have done so, to put particular and discrete textual suggestions throughout this section. We think it needs a fundamental revision. We look forward to working with parties to establish a consensus upon which we can move. This does not reflect that. This notion of having options and these brackets, which I think are quite minimal given our substantial discomfort, I think will give us that capacity to move forward. Thank you.